Hey everybody, tonight we are going to do a simple feeding video, and we are going to focus on feeding my discus, although everybody in the tank is going to get some food at the moment. But we're going to think about the discus, and what we're going to feed them tonight is sinking granules, because what I want to talk about is how discus are really bottom feeders. I got to thinking about this on the way home. I went out unsuccessfully tonight in an attempt to catch some native fish for my pond out back. And on the way home, I was thinking about the definition of what we would call a cleanup crew in an aquarium. And I was thinking about how these discus make, depending on what your definition of a cleanup crew is, these discus make for a very good cleanup crew. Now, when I say that, you might think that sounds absolutely absurd to call discus a cleanup crew. But again, it depends on how you define what a cleanup crew is. My first thought was that a cleanup crew does not really involve fish at all. What we generally think of as being cleaned up off of the bottom is not fish food necessarily, but is more like detritus. It's the broken down pieces of leaf from the plants that fall to the bottom. It's the fish poop. It's the little bits of whatever that end up in the corner. And that's the stuff we want broken down. And in order to have that broken down, you need things like detritus worms and fungus and bacteria. And there's all kind of microbial life that lives in your tank that breaks all that stuff down. And that's all part of your cleanup crew. But then I thought, well, there's also the idea of any uneaten fish food. You know, you want some bottom feeders on the tank to make sure uneaten fish food gets cleaned up. And I've got plenty of fish that I think of as part of my cleanup crew that are simply algae eaters, whether they're clown pleco or rubber lip pleco. I've got snails that are in there for cleaning up the algae, and so that's all part of a cleanup crew. So why not consider discus part of a cleanup crew? If the idea is to make sure any food that falls to the bottom of the tank gets cleaned up and you don't have a bunch of wasted food sitting on the bottom of your tank, these discus are really good fish for doing that. They spend a lot of their time down on the bottom feeding off the bottom. They're bottom feeders out in nature. They will take food from the water column, certainly, and they will take food right off the surface. I've seen them do that plenty of times. I love watching them get into the leaves. They're so thin, they can just slide right between the fronds of the ferns, and they get in there, and any of the food that drifts in there, they get out of there. Again, very good at keeping the tank clean. They get into spaces that other fish can't get to clean up the food. I've seen them lay on their side and wriggle down sideways underneath these rocks on the bottom in order to get to algae wafers. So when it comes to making sure you don't have unwanted, uneaten food that drifted to the bottom and none of your other fish that, say, aren't bottom feeders, then, you know, these discus are really a good fish to have for helping keep your tank clean. So I'm going to stand by my original thought that discus make for very good members of a cleanup crew, although I will admit they're not necessarily your traditional members of the cleanup crew, but they do make for really good additions to having fish in the tank that are going to make sure you get your... See what I mean about how they lay almost flat on their side and will slide underneath of those rocks to get down to that food that's under there? They are just really amazing fish. So there you go. That's my thoughts on discus being members of a cleanup crew, and that's a nice little look at them in there doing their thing. I got a bunch of stuff I got to get done this evening. That's why we didn't have time for a more lengthy video. But I did have that on my mind today, and I was thinking about how odd that would sound to tell somebody that you keep discus as part of your cleanup crew. And I don't genuinely think of them as part of my cleanup crew, but they certainly act as though they are, and they are really good, as I keep saying, at keeping the bottom of the tank clean, because they are, by nature, bottom feeders. These blue diamonds are growing so fast, they're getting really big. I can't wait till these red turquoise start catching up a little bit, because these are going to look amazing once the colors start coming in more. I mean, they're already pretty colorful, but the reds and the red turquoise are going to really pop, I think. Alright everybody, there you go. There's your look at my discus for the evening, and my thoughts on whether or not we could consider discus as part of a cleanup crew or not. So I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you're subscribed. Don't forget I do a live stream every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And I also do a topic discussion live stream every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure you check those out if you're interested. I also do a members only live stream on Wednesdays. So check that out if you are interested. Membership is $2.99 a month. And that gets you full access. I don't have any peer levels or anything like that, or tier levels or anything. So if you get access to the membership, you get full access to everything that's in the membership area. So go over there and check that out if you're interested. Otherwise, I'm going to say thanks for watching. Make sure you are subscribed, ring that bell, all that good stuff. And I will see you real soon on the next one.